Counting calories is dumb.
Just because it's not necessarily accurate doesn't mean you can't track calories and get results doing that.
Recently, there's been a lot of talk about if calories in, calories out matter, especially in terms of specific diets like the carnivore diet. If you ask the average trainer why you can't lose weight, the typical answer will be that you consume more calories than you expend. Although this advice is usually well-intentioned, it's not always helpful. If you ask a Biggest Loser contestant, they may just blame it on their genetics.
With that Biggest Loser bombshell, research is revealing that a majority of Season 8's contestants regained some of that weight they worked so hard to lose. It's all part of a new diet study first reported in the New York Times.
Although many of the contestants lost a significant amount of weight, many or nearly all of them weren't able to keep it off. In the papers published by the researchers, the phenomenon they are referring to is called metabolic adaptation. This is when the person's resting metabolic rate is drastically reduced in response to their weight loss, meaning that compared to someone that hasn't lost a significant amount of weight, they would need to eat significantly less when compared to someone at the same weight that hadn't had a dramatic weight loss transformation.
I was working out 2 hours a day, riding my bike all over town to go where I was going. I was exercising 3 or 4 times as much as a normal person. And once that stopped, the weight started creeping back on.
Understanding weight loss also means looking beyond the scale. It's not just about losing weight, but what kind of weight you're losing: fat, muscle, or bone. Also, the type of fat you lose can also be very important as well. Was it visceral fat or subcutaneous fat? Visceral fat, the fat around your organs that gives you that nice beer gut look, can be particularly problematic as it's correlated with inflammation. A typical trainer will tell you that you just need to eat in a slight calorie deficit to induce fat loss. After all, a pound of fat is 3,500 calories. So they may say just eat 300 to 400 calories less per day, and within a couple of weeks you will lose a pound of fat. But what does this deficit actually do to your body? As calories are relative to the amount of food that you are eating, the body will perceive this as you are in an environment where the food is scarce. Therefore, your body will do anything it can to hold onto the stored fat energy as a survival mechanism.
People become metabolically deranged to the extent that they can't tap their energy stores. And as a consequence, when they feel their energy start to wane, they can't tap into their body fat or their glycogen stores because of their hormonal environment. So they need to eat right away. And the way most people that have been eating a grain-based and a high in carbohydrate diet exist, as soon as their blood sugar drops, they got to eat something to kind of level it out. And that is the conventional wisdom's approach to managing hunger. But it's a losing battle because hunger always wins.
Since muscle generally requires a lot of energy to maintain, under many circumstances, the body will start burning muscle before it starts burning fat. To understand this further, we should first understand what a calorie actually is. It is a unit of energy equivalent to the heat energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. So the first and obvious flaw here is that our body does not function like a bomb calorimeter. The bomb calorimeter is a very simple, closed system that doesn't translate well to how your body actually utilizes the energy you consume. Not only this, but it is extremely hard to follow the standard eat less, move more model, which is often just a matter of willpowering your way through. When you are constantly hungry and have low energy from restricting calories, exercise is one of the last things that you feel like doing. When you do this, your body basically thinks it is in an environment where less food is available. This means that your body will begin to lower the amount of energy you expend as a survival mechanism to prevent you from starving. But clearly you aren't actually starving, so what's going on here? One of the main hormones that helps regulate hunger is called leptin. And interestingly enough, leptin is actually secreted by the fat cells. So in a world where a calorie is a calorie, and the foods we eat don't affect our hormone regulation, fat people should almost always feel full. This is because leptin is often referred to as the satiety hormone, which signals to the body that it has a sufficient amount of energy. But obviously this isn't the case. These obese people aren't lying. They truly do feel like they are starving and are extremely hungry. So 2 other important compounds that come into play here are called insulin and hormone-sensitive lipase. An ideal situation that would make fat loss easy would be to have high levels of leptin to reduce hunger, low levels of insulin so your body isn't storing too much energy, and you would want hormone-sensitive lipase to be active since it is the enzyme which allows your body to actually use the stored fat as fuel. So the main problem with calories in, calories out is that it doesn't make it clear how this ideal hormonal situation is achieved. The This is why it's important to understand what kinds of foods you're eating and how the macronutrients like proteins, fats, and carbohydrates are affecting your hormones. The main macronutrient that could be problematic for achieving this preferred hormonal state is carbohydrates. This is because when carbohydrates are consumed, they're converted into glucose. When there is glucose in the bloodstream, the body increases insulin to either use or store the glucose found in the blood, as glucose in the blood can be very inflammatory as it can cause glycation. But here's the thing, insulin blocks the activation of the enzyme hormone-sensitive lipase. And since this enzyme is responsible for mobilizing your stored fat, your body now locks up its fat stores. When your energy is locked and glucose begins to lower as your body is now using it for energy, you begin to get very hungry as your body thinks there is a lack of energy. So now you feel like you need to eat more carbs, which then raises insulin, storing energy and preventing the use of fat, which creates this vicious cycle of constantly being hungry while your body locks up its fat stores since the enzyme hormone-sensitive lipase is blocked by insulin. But it's not just the carbohydrates in general that are potentially problematic, but also the type of carbohydrates. For example, there's fructose.
That common sense notion a calorie is a calorie, it ain't true. 1 glucose, 1 fructose. 6-membered ring, 5-membered ring. Now this stuff is essential for life. Every cell on the planet utilizes glucose for energy. This guy over here is completely vestigial. There's not one biochemical reaction in the body that requires it. But it's very sweet, and we like it a lot. The question is, what do we do with it if we don't need it for any biochemical reaction?
Found in sodas, fruits, honey, and most processed foods, fructose is much sweeter than glucose. And although it is a carbohydrate, it isn't actually needed for any biochemical process in the body. This is why nearly all of it needs to be broken down in the liver in almost the exact same way as alcohol to be converted into glucose, which our body can then use. This leads to many of the same diseases as consuming alcohol, such as fatty liver disease. Okay, so now you know that a calorie isn't a calorie and can function far differently depending on where it comes from. But now you might be wondering, what about the carnivore diet? The carnivore diet consists of exclusively animal products like beef, pork, fish, and eggs, and excludes all plants and processed foods. So how do the calories or energy within meat function in our body? While many of the contestants on The Biggest Loser, for example, claim that they are always hungry while eating less and still gain fat, many people that transition into the carnivore diet claim that they are able to eat until they are full while still losing body fat. So what's going on here? Well, first let's look at the macronutrient content of meat. A pound of 80-20 gram beef contains about 23 grams of fat, 20 grams of protein, and no carbohydrates. Although some glucose is essential, we can create all of the glucose we need through a process called gluconeogenesis. So the first and obvious benefit of this is that you won't get stuck in the vicious cycle of needing to consume more carbohydrates while storing most of what you eat. The macronutrient content of meat allows our bodies to regulate our hunger signaling hormones properly, meaning that you will feel full when your body actually doesn't need any more energy, while your body will be able to easily mobilize the fat tissue for energy. Not only this, but by eliminating all other potential triggers from processed foods and anti-nutrients from plants, our bodies are now well equipped to use our energy stores properly while also getting all of the nutrient-dense, bioavailable nutrients in meat that allow our complex bodies to function properly. As this is a form of a ketogenic diet, your body will also produce ketones, which can also have many benefits when it comes to fat loss, such as appetite suppression, improved insulin sensitivity, reduced inflammation, increased metabolic efficiency, and the preservation of muscle mass. Because after all, we want to lose our weight from fat, not muscle. So next time you eat a meal, try to be more aware of how it makes you feel. Does a breakfast of cereal and fruit juice make you feel hungry within only a few hours? What about the alternative? Does a breakfast of high fat and protein such as eggs make you feel any better?